Hello there, beautiful people. What's good? What's crack-a-lurkin'? It's your girl, Tamara on Tammy Talks. If you're a new listener, you're welcome to have a feel. Don't touch that dial. And if you're an old listener, you know how we do it. You know the drill. Stay with me and let me give you the spice of God for you today. On today's episode, I promise you guys you're going to learn something very important, something new, something different from the ordinary. And today's topic is conversation starters. Ask me why I'm bringing this up. Okay, I'll tell you why. I actually have a background in human resource and I did it to a certain degree. I don't want to be proud, so I'll not tell you how far I went. And I've had cause to have interviews very recently with a couple of people. And I noticed that whenever I ask them a particular question, it kind of puts them off guard. And that question is, tell me about yourself. Can you describe yourself to me in 2 minutes? And I say a lot of people do that. Or it might be an informal conversation and you're like, okay, can you tell me about yourself? I want to give you easy ways to start conversations without making the person feel some type of way. I would say not uncomfortable, but like trying to rehearse what he or she is trying to say. They are very easy, teasy, busy, easy, hazard tips. You're going to learn today that I'm sure that when you try this out, you'll be able to get the information you need from whoever you're asking questions from. And I'll start with the most basic. I will start by telling you that there are several ways in which you can actually get information from people without necessarily putting them on the spot. And I would give you instances of conversation starters. The first one I'll be talking about is beauty conversation starters. The second one is challenges conversation starters. The third one is family conversation starter. The fourth one is friendship conversation starter. The fifth one is personality conversation starter. And the last but not the least is success and failure conversation starter. The reason I'm telling you all of this is because I'm going to be touching in bits on all the topics I have mentioned right now. And I would like you guys to please pay close attention so that you don't miss out on any salient points. Now, I'm going to start with the beauty conversation starters. They are not vague and they are not vain. They are very direct. So you get to know the kind of person you are dealing with. And I'll tell you certain questions you can ask to get the information you need. Number one, what makes a person beautiful to you? That's when you're having a conversation with somebody. Maybe you're trying to know who the person really is. You can ask the person this kind of question. Number two, what is the most beautiful song you've heard? It's a conversation starter. It's not something that the person must give you one-word answers. Of course, when the person gives you that answer, you continue and then you start and then you pick and then you throw and then you dribble and all of that. You can also ask the person, beauty seems to be in the eye of the beholder, but how do you see, what makes you see things universally beautiful? I mean, what makes people see things that are generally beautiful? What do you think beauty signifies to every person? What do we resonate with collectively as beauty? That is a way to get the person's attention. You can also ask the person a very personal question without making the person feel uncomfortable. Who's the most beautiful person to you right now? That's that for beauty conversations. Now, the second conversation starter pack is challenges conversation starter. And it's quite easy. You don't need to be too sensitive. You don't need to touch too, sore spots to get the information you want. You can simply ask by asking, what is a challenge you would never want to face? That is one question. What is the most challenging job you've ever done? I'm sure most of us will have challenging jobs we've done that we are like, we've been there, done that. The next question is, what's the biggest challenge you're facing right now? And of course, you get answers. People would very much talk about their challenges. Oh, how I wish. Oh, God, how I wish you send me helpers to get me out of, all of that stuff. It works. The next one is a family conversation starter. And it's quite easy. Who do you look like in your family? Who do you think you most behave like in your family? Of all your siblings, who is like the most jovial? Very easy, peasy questions that you don't even need to think too hard to answer. What was your growing up like? What was your childhood like? Those are questions that have to do with family, and people find it very easy to talk about things like that. You don't go too deep, especially if it's somebody who is quite sensitive, but it makes a whole lot of sense when you ask the person small talk concerning his or her family. Do you like attending family gatherings? Like, do you like going out with your family? Do you like wearing the same clothes your family is wearing? Those are just basic questions when you're trying to get to know somebody. That works. Now, the next one is friendship questions. What quality do you admire the most in friendship? How long have you known your oldest friend? Those are questions that would make you know how much the person values friendship. What makes you separate acquaintances from friends? What is like the deal breaker for you to say, okay, this person is my acquaintance and then this person is my friend? The next one is personality conversation starters. What temperament do you think you have? Can you change someone from being who he is to being someone else? Those are very sensitive questions that makes you know that this person is a certain type of way. You can also ask the person, what is the most annoying trait that you would see in somebody that would turn you off? That's why you hear people say, okay, so what are your likes and what are your dislikes? That's the reason behind those questions, just so that they know who you really are without being too nosy about your life. That's why you hear people say things like that. And then lastly, we have the success and failure questions. The success and failure questions is just to know how much of a person you have grown, how much of a sportsman you are, how did you handle failure, did you learn from your mistakes, are you willing to give maybe love a chance if you fail at a relationship? Are you willing to try again if you don't get called for an interview? Are you willing to do something, start a business again, do whatever you want to do without feeling like you failed at it and then you're never going to go back to it? That's how to know people who have grown past their mistakes and are also good sportsmen too, because it's very easy to tell when somebody is quite a jealous person. And it's very easy to tell when somebody hasn't learned from his or her mistakes. Basically, these are short, small talks that you can actually ask people without being too up close and personal, without being too in their faces. And the reason why I said I was going to talk about this is because you see a lot of people being very uncomfortable when you ask them things about themselves, especially when you say, okay, describe yourself to me. They can't really make strategic conversations. It's like an elevator pitch, but this time around you are not leaving the person to say whatever he wants to say in 30 seconds. I see a lot of memes on social media where they say, okay, if you meet $10 in an elevator or like a Dangote, what will you say? A lot of people say a lot of funny things like, okay, oh, daddy Ejo, help me. It's quite hilarious, for real. So if you're somebody who wants to know more about someone, it's actually good to throw open-ended questions to the person that will now translate to other questions. Don't go to personal so that you don't touch the person's sore spots. Just try and be as polite and as friendly and as diplomatic, that's the word, as possible. I hope you've learned one or two things today. I didn't want this podcast to be too long because I know last week was quite long because we had a guest. So I hope you'll enjoy this. If you have questions, if you have suggestions, you can drop your comments on the site, like I always say, on WhatsApp. I'm expecting your feedback. As usual, have a beautiful Sunday and I love you guys. See you next week and stay blessed.